Hello, everybody. This is Chris Miller from the Coach's Box Call, like we see a podcast, and we are previewing Week 13 of SEC football. Here's the thing, though: SEC football right now. This is that week where they pretty much kind of have a bye week while they're playing their teams on their schedule because the the games are insane. It's like everybody's going to take a break and not play anybody that's very tough. Okay, so after beating up on each other, they're going to go pick up a bunch of like terrible teams to play. This week we've got UMass going to Georgia. Georgia is 42-point spread, so at negative 42, I would say that it's going to be a whopper there. UTEP is traveling to Tennessee. Tennessee's favored by 40.5 points. Wolford's playing at South Carolina. I didn't put a line down on that one. South Carolina is the hottest team in the SEC right now, winning 4 straight. So I think that's an easy pick. Even Louisiana Tech playing at Arkansas. Arkansas is favored by 22 points. That's also one of those games. It's like, well, there you go. Take the easy way there. So those games, pretty much blowouts. I think we're pretty safe there. I know I have not been great at picking games. It's very hard to pick in the SEC. It's very hard because the SEC teams tend to show up and play even when you don't expect them to. So those games, get those out of the way. Even Kentucky traveling to Texas. Texas is favored by 20 points. I feel like that's going to be a pretty easy win for the Longhorns, and they're going to continue to ride out their schedule heading for the SEC championship. No matter what Lane Kiffin or Sarkisian say, that should be pretty interesting as it pans out. Speaking of Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss is going to Florida this week. They're favored by 12. Florida, I'm not a big Florida fan. I vocalized that. They have been playing a little bit better in recent weeks. I still don't see them having the firepower to hang with Ole Miss. Ole Miss has also won 3 in a row. Florida is still, they're sitting at 5-5 and 3-4 in the conference. So I don't see this as being a game that Ole Miss is going to lose. Dart's going to have I feel like Dart's going to have a pretty good game, and they're trying to get their opportunity to play in that SEC championship game, but they've got some road to make up. Plus, they have to have somebody else lose a couple. So I'm picking Ole Miss in that one. Looking down the list of games, there's not very many games that aren't just overwhelming favorites. excuse me, by Vegas odds. You've got Alabama going to Oklahoma, and Alabama's favored by 13.5. Alabama's a hard team to pick just because they're kind of up and down. Even though they've won their last 3, and they're 8-2 overall, they're trying to find a way into the college football playoffs. I feel like there's going to be a handful of teams from the SEC that are going to make it, but they don't want to be a 3-loss team, and they've got to keep finding wins. They're also 4-2 in the conference. Oklahoma, they're having a very hard time in the SEC. There's plenty of great memes and videos out there about Oklahoma learning what it's like to play in the SEC. Now, the good news for them, they are playing in Norman, so they do have a chance. I just don't feel like they have a chance, considering they found a way to lose against Mizzou, who's obviously struggling at times. But Oklahoma's 1-5 in the conference. I think they're toast in this one, and they're going to end up falling 5-6. I think Alabama's going to go in and get the win. Vandy at LSU, 2 unranked teams that have been ranked for a little bit this year. Obviously, LSU was sitting a lot higher. They were, I believe, a top 10 team. But again, you've got to put some wins together. And LSU being 3-3 in the conference, 6-4 overall, and they've lost their last 3. They're not playing very good football. This is an opportunity for Vandy, who's literally has the same record as they do in the conference and overall, to pick up a win, and that would be huge. Now, going to Death Valley and playing, pretty tough. LSU's favored by 7.5 points. I still think LSU comes out on top on this one and finds a way to end their skid, because it's very tough to win on the road in the SEC. And as good as as good as Vandy has played at times this year, that's a tough place to play. I don't care if they're unranked or whatever. They're tough to play at home. So I feel the Tigers are going to come away with a win. Again, I could be wrong. I've been wrong quite a bit this year because the SEC is just, you just never know. Also, LSU's 4-1 at home, and Vandy's 2-2 on the road this year. So I look for LSU to take home the win. Probably the closest game by the spread this week is Texas A&M at Auburn. A&M sitting 5-1 in the conference, having a shot for the SEC title game. They're 8-2 overall, 15th in the nation, and they've got to go and play at Auburn. Auburn's not a very good football team. They're 1-5 in the conference. They're 4-6 overall, but A&M doesn't necessarily have the flashy offense. It's just going to put people away unless they're playing Mizzou. And look for this to be a close game. I don't know if it's 2.5 close, and I definitely don't feel like Auburn has a shot to win, even though they are playing at home, but they do have a better record because A&M is a good, solid football team. So that is the closest game by the spread this week in the SEC, which is, given the other games, obviously that's easy to see. So I think A&M is going to pick up the win. It'll probably be a close game, but I think they'll definitely cover the points. And then finally we have number 23, which I don't know how they stayed in the top 25. The Missouri Tigers, who are 7-3, but they're 3-3 in the SEC. They are playing on the road at Mississippi State. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Mississippi State is at the very bottom of a very large pool of SEC teams. Like if there was relegation, Mississippi State is on their way to being out and being in the Sun Belt or somewhere else. They have no reason to even compete with Mizzou, but Mizzou is only favored by 7.5 this week. But obviously, it should be a close spread because Mizzou's offense hasn't figured out how to get the ball to Luther Burden in space. Don't understand why. Brady Cook has been absolutely terrible and or hurt. Pine, yeah, he had a good moment against Oklahoma, even though he struggled, and he definitely struggled in the Alabama game. Looked like he never played before, even though he played at Notre Dame. So I'm very curious to see how Mizzou plays, especially on the road. They're only 1-3 on the road this year, and they're undefeated at home. So this is not a home game. It's not at Faurot Field. Mississippi State is terrible. I don't see Mizzou losing this game. I see the Mizzou finding a way to keep this thing close within a field goal because they just Mizzou it up. So I am picking the Tigers to win. If they prove me wrong, I might lose my freaking mind. So with that being said, I feel like those are pretty easy picks this week, especially since half the SEC has decided to have their bye week this week and play a bunch of FCS schools that they have no business playing, but I guess to rest their team and not give up a chance for that conference championship bid. But we've got a bunch of teams in the SEC that are vying for that college football playoff spot, and I don't think we're going to get 4 teams in, and that's going to be the thing is there going to be a 3-loss SEC school that makes the college football playoffs this year? Should be interesting to see. Not a lot of like big time games. They're prime time to watch, but still entertaining nonetheless. It's SEC football. Anything can happen. I just feel like anything can happen, especially when they play each other. Not when they play these other little weak, lame, and blind schools, but when they play each other. So this has been the Coach's Box Call like we see it, SEC preview for this week. I'm Chris Miller filling in for Kevin Halley. Thank you guys all for tuning in and being a part of this. If you interested, you can check out our show, the Coach's Box Call. I see a podcast. You can subscribe on YouTube or on the X. You can check us out on our Facebook page. We'd appreciate that and all the support that we have from Greenville Sports.